Devil, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. It's your boy MattyB back on the call tonight here on this lovely Wednesday, March the 5th, 2025. And we are midweek, hump day, Wednesday, whatever it is you decide and you want to call it. We have arrived at the mid part of the week, the back end of our broadcasting week, as we will just we'll wrap tomorrow for the week. Maybe I go Friday, seeing how I wasn't on Monday. I don't know. I think we'll just call it a regular week anyway. But we do have a lot of stuff to get into. I had a plan for tonight, and it's by the show title of I Can Smell Summer, because we're in that transitional period of time between winter and spring. It's that cabin fever. You know, you're still trapped inside, but you don't want to be trapped inside anymore, because it's boring inside now that football season is over. And, of course, now that the Sixers stink and the Flyers are headed absolutely nowhere, and you got the sounds of summer down in Clearwater, you're getting kind of antsy, and you want to get outside and you want to start your summer. And tonight's show is supposed to be about that, about kind of talking about those types of feelings and emotions and what have you as you get prepared for summer. But the Eagles threw a curveball at me today and everybody else by announcing that they have re-signed linebacker Zach Bond to a 3-year, $51 million contract extension. And we will definitely get into that, because I was on this program last night saying that I did not think that was going to happen. I did not understand why they had to wait to this point to sign a contract. Why does Zach Bond have to get to the offseason? Why couldn't they just got this done back in the season? But you know what? I guess better sooner than later, later than sooner. It's a done deal. Zach Bond is back. Which then brings up another question that we're going to get into a little bit later on in the show about free agency and about what the Eagles are going to do in free agency. They've given away now their second big contract to one of their own free agents. What does that mean for the outside portion of free agency? Who is coming here? I know the Myles Garrett trade thing is still a big story. But as far as other free agents, and, you know, I guess you could also look at it from this side of the coin too. Maybe they don't need to shop around outside, because God knows, I mean, they won the Super Bowl, so they obviously have the right recipe here. But we'll talk about that. We're going to also do a little bit of a Flyers check-in. I've been negligent on the Flyers. I'm almost kind of wishing them away. It's kind of wishing that season end too. But we're going to talk a little bit of Flyers. Losers last night, 6-3, was it? Something like that, to the Calgary Flames. We're going to get into the other night segment. We're going to reveal our final defensive pairing on our all-time Flyer roster, and card of the night. A lot of stuff really we got to get into. Of course, we'll start it all off with your day in Philadelphia sports history. So let's get it going. Let's strap it in, strap it on. Put your hands and feet inside the car at all times, and let's go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history is an actual do-over day. That's right. I made a mistake last night. I gave you when we talked about the Harlem Globetrotters playing their final game of their illustrious career that spanned about 4 or 5 decades, that was actually today in Philadelphia sports history. That was not yesterday. That was today. So that was the 5th. Today's 6th, right? No, today's the 5th. Today was the Globetrotters playing their final game. I read you that day in sports history as yesterday, but I was wrong. So we're going to go and do actual March 4th day in Philadelphia sports history, because I missed it. So we're going to kind of backtrack and just kind of replace it. We'll flip-flop the days. So pretend that I talked about the Globetrotters tonight, and then pretend that about what I'm about to tell you, I talked about last night. So on yesterday, March 4th, 2000 and not March 4th, 2000 anything. On this day, March 4th, 1944, the Phillies were in the news. Yeah, the Phillies were in the news because they decided to do something in order to kind of cleanse the slate of 5 straight 100-loss seasons. Can you imagine? I know I grew up in some real lean times as a Phillies fan back in the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. But I've never grown up and survived or lived through 5 straight 100-loss seasons. But the Phillies have done that a couple times throughout their illustrious history. And on this date, back in 1944, in order to kind of clean the slate from that 5 straight 100-loss seasons, the Phillies officially changed their nickname. Yeah, you guys know that, right? I mean, the Phillies weren't their first nickname. They were known unofficially when they first entered Major League Baseball as the Quakers. Then they kind of bounced around between a couple different names. The Philadelphians was one. Then that was shortened to the Phillies. But on this day in 1944, they changed all that, and they came up with a new nickname, the Philadelphia Blue Jays. That's right. In order to kind of step away from 5 straight 100-loss seasons, the Phillies officially changed their nickname to the Blue Jays. Now, as far as the marketing with all that, they didn't do anything different with their uniforms except sew a patch of a Blue Jay on their shirt. That was it. They were still going as the Phillies, but they put a Blue Jay on their sleeve. So I don't know what all that was about, but they were officially known as the Blue Jays for 5 seasons starting this year in 1944. So happy Philadelphia Blue Jay Day. Definitely I'm glad that didn't stick. That makes no sense. Blue Jays. But yeah, happy Philadelphia Blue Jay Day. On this day in 1944, the Phillies officially changed their name to the Blue Jays just to change it back to the Phillies in 1950. I think, honestly, it's a pretty cool story of how they became the Phillies. They were the Quakers, then they became the Philadelphians. Philadelphians was too much, so it got shortened down to Phillies, and then they got adopted officially by the team at some point. I think this is a really cool story. I really do. The Philadelphia Philadelphians. I mean, you can't pay for that kind of advertising. That's thought processes. That's brain busting. That is some innovative thinking to name your team the longer version of your city name. To call the team the Philadelphia Philadelphians. Boy, I'm in the wrong business, man. That's some innovative thinking right there, brother. So I'll take Blue Jays over the Philadelphians any day. But of course, thanks to the media, they shortened Philadelphians down to Phillies, and then the Phillies adopted it officially at some point as their official nickname. So thank God for cooler heads that prevailed. But on this day in 1944, it was the Philadelphia Blue Jays all day. So there you go. And that was your day in Philadelphia sports history yesterday. And today was the Globetrotter thing. So again, let's recap. Today, in 2009, the Globetrotters played their final game of their illustrious franchise on the roof of the Spectrum against the Washington Generals. And yesterday, it was 1944 and Blue Jay Day. So I got to get back on. I'm back on track now. I screwed it up yesterday, but I'm back on track. I've given you the right information. So let's go what we got to do. Let's go what we got to do here on this show. Steve checks in. Johan going opposite field with some power was not on my bingo card. Either were the Phillies losing 17-7 in a spring training game to the Detroit Tigers there, Steve. Good God. Did you guys watch that game today? Not only did I have to sit through an hour and a half rain delay, I had to sit through an hour and a half rain delay, and then I had to watch the Phillies lose 17-7 to the Tigers. But yes, Johan Rojas with the opposite field shot, kind of triggering some of the offense. Christian Arroyo hit a home run, trying to make the Phillies as well. Not a very good day in spring. I got it. You're not looking at records and all that, but man, 17-7. Oh, that's not competitive anywhere. What good can you take from that? Maybe with the exception of Johan Rojas's opposite field home run. But as Steve says, not on his bingo card, not only was that, but losing 17-7 was not on my bingo card either. So Joe Hales checks in and says, hey, Joe. Oh, I said, hey, Joe, but hey, how are you tonight? Joe, I'm doing well. How are you? People cared about the A's back then. Yeah, most of them flew under the radar, according to my older family members. Yes, that's correct. The A's were the senior team, the more popular team, and of course, the more successful team. And they've always been that way. You know, Phillies were kind of the new kid on the block, the younger brother, the lesser of the two Philadelphia teams. You know what? I think about those days a lot. I would have loved to have lived back then. You know, when you had major cities that had like multiple sports teams. Boston, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago. I mean, all those towns were like, you know, the beginning, and they all had representation, one in the American League, one in the National League. That is pure baseball right there. That's the way it should be. And you traveled everywhere by train. Right after you got your newspaper from the paper boy that was on the corner going, extra, extra. I wish I was alive back then. I think I would have fit in better with that crew than I do here in the mid or early part of the 21st century. I don't know. I'm just not a 21st century digital boy. I'm just not. I think I would have done better back then. But Steve's correct. I mean, the Phillies were nothing really that they were the lesser card. They were the lesser team. The National League in itself was sort of the lesser league for a while there. Then the National League took it over later on. But yeah, the National League wasn't anything. It kind of sucked. But still, Steve, the Philadelphians, you cannot pay for more innovative thinking than that. Philadelphians are worse than the Metropolitans. Yes, absolutely, because at least it's something. Look, the New York Metropolitans is long and wordy, but it's different. The Philadelphians, come on, man. I mean, somebody was getting paid money to come up with that name. I could have done better than that, which ironically was Vancouver's first hockey team. Was it really? I didn't know that. The Metropolitans were their first hockey team. Wow. We got Steve dropping the knowledge on me. Who gets the backup catcher spot for the Phillies? Logan O'Hoppe, Joe. Freaking Logan O'Hoppe gets the backup spot. Backup catcher job for me. Ask Dave Dombrowski about that. Ask him what Logan's doing. Can we get him back? Can we redo that Brandon Marsh trade? And do you do that? Do you redo the Brandon Marsh trade? We are in dire need of a bridge right now at the catcher spot. We are in dire need of some help there. I don't think JT Realmuto is going to last the season behind the dish. And all this talk about trying to move him to left field or third base or first base, wherever they want to put him. To me, I don't get the like urgency there. I don't care about keeping JT's bat in the lineup. I really don't. He's been on a steady nosedive decline offensively for the last 3 years. What I need JT to do is call the damn game. I need his ability as a catcher. I don't care about his bat. And right now, that the fact that he can't get behind a dish and catch games because of his knees and he's getting old, that's what's really bad about it. Moving him to third base or first base, that does nothing for me because it's not his bat that I'm concerned about, or it's not his bat that I care about. It's the ability that he has to call good games, control the pitching staff, and do all those things. And that's scary because if he can't do that, the question now originally goes back to who gets the backup spot. Again, I say Logan O'Hoppe. Let's redo the trade. I want Logan O'Hoppe back. I might go down as one of the worst trades we've ever had in recent times. But the answer, it's going to have to be Marshawn. Matter of fact, tonight, if you stick around for the Of the Night segment there, Joe, you'll see we are actually profiling one of the potential backup catchers. But I say Rafael Marshawn for a couple reasons. One, he's out of options, right? So if he doesn't make the Phillies, he's going to get DFA'd. He probably won't make it through waivers. So someone's going to claim him, and he's going to walk. And then where are we? We're stuck with Garrett Stubbs. We're stuck with Disson, who's an up-and-coming kid down in Double-A. We're stuck with the kid from the Yankees organization that we picked up last season, but he's another Double-A prospect. He was the top catcher in the Yankee organization at one point. He fell out of favor. Yankees cut him last summer. The Phillies picked him up. was swinging a wicked stick in the summer for Double-A. But there's a logjam at Double-A. There's nothing at Triple-A. And then, of course, there's Eduardo Tate, who is the golden child. But he's about 3 years away. He's, I believe, going to be in High A to start the season, or maybe Double-A. So, but he's only 18, I believe. He might even still be 17, but he's very young. But he is definitely he's the next thing if Dombrowski doesn't trade him. But it's going to be a few years before he gets here. So I think out of self-preservation, it's going to have to be Marchand, personally. I mean, I don't see how Garrett Stubbs wins the job unless he's got the incentive or the like the part of being the party master. Does that count for anything? Is that going to get him over the top? Because Marchand's not that guy. Now, Marchand's got some durability issues. One of the things that has held him back of this point of his career has been the injuries. And can he last? So I don't know. But if you're asking me who would I'd rather have, the hell is, I don't know what Stubbs is still doing here, honestly. It's in this order. It's Logan O'Hoppe, it's Marchand, and then Tate. If we're going to go that far back down the list. But yeah, Rafael Marchand is my pick for backup catcher. O'Hoppe love is ridiculous. Yeah, it ain't. No, it ain't, Al. And you know what I mean. It ain't so ridiculous right now, is it? When we're scrambling to find a backup catcher. Ain't so damn ridiculous now, is it? Nope. I disagree. I think the Logan O'Hoppe trade was one of the worst trades we've ever had in the modern era, in recent times, Phillies wise. I think that's a trade that's going to bite this team on the ass, and I think it's starting to right now. If we would have Logan O'Hoppe on this team, Stubbs wouldn't be here anymore. Marchand probably wouldn't be necessarily. Well, he's still be in the same position he is in right now, but maybe we trade him at some point. You know. I'm just telling you, I think it was a bad trade. And I think right now we're starting to feel it. And hopefully it doesn't get worse, but I think it might before it gets any better. JT may be shopping at the Excuse Emporium in 2025. What's the Excuse Emporium, Steve? Do I know what the Excuse Emporium is? Are you speaking perhaps about Big Al's Excuse Emporium? That's right, folks. Big Al's Excuse Emporium, serving the Delaware Valley since the summer of 2024. If you are downtrodden, if you're having problems dealing with the reality that is Philadelphia sports, head on down to Big Al's Excuse Emporium today because we got you covered. If it's problems with the Sixers, problems with the Phillies, Flyers, Eagles, hell, even the Wings and the Union, and we'll toss in the Water Dogs, new for 2025. We got you covered down here at Big Al's Excuse Emporium. Tell them MattyB sent you, and they'll take great care of you. Wow. Steve going into the Big Al's Excuse Emporium, man. But I got you. And that's the problems, Steve. What are we doing? What are we going to do if JT cannot squat behind the plate? I don't care about his bat. I care about his ability to call a game. So putting him in first base or left field, that does nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. But good point, Steve. You would think you could get at least a lottery ticket for Marchand. Yeah. I mean, would you keep him, Steve, at this point? I mean, we've seen what Stubbs is. We haven't seen. I think the part of why we all want Marchand is we really haven't seen what he is. I mean, there's a sense of unknown with him. We've seen little sample sizes here and there, but we don't know about him. He looks a little bit more adept at catching. I think he's a better defensive catcher than Stubbs. But offensively, and he has shown some pop offensively too. Granted, in a small sample size, but Marchand has durability problems, and he's had it all his career. So, does that hold the Phillies back from making the plunge? I think Marchand would be a great as long as he stays healthy. Yep, I just said that. Sixers have been banned from the Emporium. No, Steve. They just opened up another aisle in the Emporium for the Sixers. That's right. They're kind of taking the Eagles inventory out right now for 2024, and they've expanded the Sixers into the Eagles aisle for 2025. Oh man, no. the Sixers are a huge get at the Emporium. Huge. Our profits are tripled since the news of Joel Embiid's shutdown occurred. How was Ohapi 236, 23, 244, and 244 and 24 that great? So the 236 in 2023 was injury plagued, and the 244 in 2024 is a good sign playing for the California Angels, Los Angeles Angels, the Anaheim Angels. You know who they are. He is a young player. He's had injury problems since he went over to LA. But I would take the upside of Logan Ohapi over Garrett Stubbs, Rafael Marchand, any of them, as we wait for Eduardo Tate. Come on, simple mathematics. Stubbs goes to the minors. Does he have an option? I don't think he has an option either. Does he? I am done with the Sixers. Al's done with the Sixers. I've been done with the Sixers for years, but Al's done with the Sixers. What's more infuriating to the folks in Philadelphia right now? What's the more infuriating topic to talk about? Philadelphia 76ers or anything that I guess centers around them. I mean, is there any more infuriating topic? Is that like the Mount Rushmore right now? Is that like you're sitting around with your friends and you bring up the Sixers and everyone does the same thing, kind of like rolls their eyes like, I don't really want to talk about this? Is it a matter of wishing the Sixers away? If Josh Harris came on the TV tomorrow and said, I have sold the team, or no, I'm relocating the team. I'm not selling them. I'm relocating them to Seattle. They're going to be the new Supersonics. Would anybody in this town be upset? Honestly, would anybody in this town be upset if we lost our NBA franchise tomorrow? I don't think I would be. I think this has been a nightmare for a while. Right? I think it's time to start over. I don't think I think the die has been cast for the Sixers. There's no coming back from this. Right? I think it's just time for a whole new approach, a whole new team, an expansion team. The Philadelphia Liberty. And we'd be top on the list for an NBA expansion team if Josh Harris relocated the Sixers. And Seattle needs their team back. Move them to Seattle. Make them the Supersonics. Joel will look good in green. We put our name on the list for an expansion team. Pat Croce come back up and be the new owner. I think he's pretty much he's good with the cancer, right? Pat Croce become the owner of the team. And we start over again. Who would not be in for that? I would be 100% because that's the only thing that would save me. The Philadelphia Liberty. Yes, he has. Oh, so Mark Stubbs still has an option? Well, then, yeah, send his ass down. Relocate them or sell them. Look at that. Al's on board with me, too. Sonny Hill would be pissed. Sonny Hill would be pissed if the Sixers move to Seattle. I mean, it's not like the Sixers are ours anyway, right? I mean, they came from Syracuse. They're the Nationals. You know that, right? I mean, they're not a. I mean, they're kind of an expand. They're a relocated team. They're not even an expansion team. The Warriors left, went to San Francisco. We didn't have a team. Syracuse folded and moved the Nationals to Philadelphia and became the Sixers. So it's not like they were ours to begin with. Why not, man? Let's use the A-bomb strategy on this. Drop the A-bomb on the Sixers and start the hell over. New owner, new GM. Start the hell over. And you kill two birds with one stone. You get the Supersonics back. Those people have been dying for their team. Go take them to Seattle. And we get on the list for the first expansion team. The Philadelphia Liberty. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be awesome, actually. Disconnect of Embiid's health versus the contract has to be the oddest thing I have ever seen. And that is that a 30 for 30, Steve? Is that a behind the scenes? Does somebody have the information on that? Is that a special? Is that a investigative reporter type of option there? Because you're right. How do we go from a 3-year mega contract extension to degenerative knee problems that probably will plague him for the rest of his life. And nobody knew that going in. It just cropped up. Do degenerative knees just pop up out of nowhere? I know you got to go through the independent doctors. But wasn't it like, what's the report that they had to go through 6 doctors before they found one that said his knees were okay before they gave him the contract? Is that the report I'm hearing? Is that true? They went through 6 doctors until they found one that said it was okay. I mean, good God, man. Who is running the railroad over there? And if they're going to screw that up, does that give you any faith and confidence in them going forward once they do get Joel Embiid out of here or once he gets back healthy? Does it give you any faith and confidence that they have what it takes to build a champion? Because Joel Embiid is never going to win a championship in this town. He might find his way onto the Lakers or onto another team that's like a Joel Embiid away. But you're never going to construct a team around Joel Embiid that's going to win a championship. Joel Embiid will never carry anybody to a championship. He might be a supporting member of a cast that takes to a championship with another superstar on it, but he's not going to be the focal point anymore. So what does that make people, what kind of confidence does that give people going forward in the Sixers once they do get out from under Joel Embiid? Another Tobias Harris type contract coming down for another washed up player, enter Paul George. I mean, what confidence do you have? And Nick Nurse is getting a lot of blame for this. You know what? I'm not saying Nick Nurse is up for Coach of the Year honors, but this guy is probably has to like look himself in the mirror every morning and go, okay, let's go out there and get through another day of lies and let me be the whipping boy one more day. I mean, I feel sorry for Nick Nurse. I truly do. He deserved better than this. But you jump in the bed of the Sixers, I guess that's what you get. But the whole front office, the whole thing's a mess. And on top of all this, the new arena. Now, does this, do you think, have anything to do with the plans of the Chinatown arena being scrapped? I know they're saying that's not what it was. Calmer has prevailed to not have a Center City arena. But does this seem a little coincidental? That all of a sudden it was hot and heavy and then it died. And then like a month later, we find out about Joel Embiid's knees. Is this, how do they justify a new arena? How do we justify that? And how do the fans in this town take to that? It's a mess, man. It's an absolute mess. Can you tank for a new owner? You could, right? I mean, it's a slippery slope. The Sixers, the one thing is the Sixers are sort of very profitable, especially now that they're selling tickets courtside for $1. That's when it's going to be a problem now, right? Is when it starts costing him, when his bottom line is not as high as it used to be. It has no. Josh Harris doesn't care about the wins or losses. He cares about the bottom line. And when that starts to hit him in the wallet, then maybe he starts looking to unload the team. But how many years is that going to take before the Sixers are actually costing Josh Harris money instead of making him money? So yes, you can tank for a new owner, but that process is long. No doubt there will be a disclosure on something in the next few years. Let's hope. Let's absolutely hope. They need to get rid of Daryl Morey. Yeah, the funny thing about Daryl Morey, I remember when they first brought him here, and he said, I have a plan. I have a plan to win a championship around Joel Embiid. And the more, as the days have passed and the years have passed, and the more and more I think about it, that plan was James Harden. That's what the plan was. And since that didn't work, there wasn't a plan B. So the minute that James Harden, cried his way out of here, should have been the minute they fired Daryl Morey, because that was his plan, was James Harden. And when that didn't work, they should have fired Daryl Morey right after they traded James Harden, because he had no secondary plan. It was all or nothing with James Harden. And we can see that now. So you're right. Daryl Morey is definitely part of the problem was with Sam Erston. God Almighty, yeah. Sam not having a good night, but you give up 3 goals in about a minute and a half. Got the old boot, and we're going to get into the Flyers here in a second. There, Steve. Nick Nurse must feel like an ass as being, yeah, exactly. I mean, he's got to go out there because he gets the check. You know, Josh Harris signs his money, and got to go out there and put a smile on his face, and you know, do what he's got to do. And he's losing on top of all of it. So yeah, I know a lot of people want to throw arrows at him, but good God, man, I mean, what's he supposed to do? He didn't put together the team, right? He had nothing to do with that. Zero confidence. I think the contract is fishy and needs to be investigated. The arena is the only thing Harris cares about. But my point, I agree with you, Al. But they were hot and heavy. They talked them, the buffoon mayor of Philadelphia into blessing off on the decision to do an arena down in Center City. Then a few days later, they backed off of it, allegedly because of fan pressure or city council pressure. But is there any connection between Joel Embiid's degenerative knees and backing off of the Center City Arena project? And I know they decided to move it to South Philly where it's more suitable, which I agree it is. All that empty land, all that open space down there by the stadium complex. Build a sports mega village. Have you guys ever been to Foxborough up in New England where the Patriots play? It's like a whole little village surrounded by the stadium. It's really cool. And they kind of have it the right way. And I think that the Philadelphia sports teams in the city of Philadelphia should incorporate something like that. Hotels, restaurants, all built intertwined in between the buildings. I think that would be hugely profitable to the city. So keeping everybody together, I agree with. In terms of like locale, they don't have to play in the same arenas, but keeping everybody central located around South Philadelphia or around that area and just build up that area makes a lot of sense to me. But I wonder, you're right. I wonder. I knew the Sixers were with the James Harden trade. Yeah, and that was Daryl Morey's only plan. When that didn't work, he didn't have another plan, and that's obviously become pretty obvious. But let's continue on with the show. You guys are really interacting well tonight. I like that. Here on the Instagram Sports Network, down there on the bottom, as you can see, we need a like, we need a subscribe, we need some help, man. We're trying to build this thing, and we definitely need your your attention. So please give us a like, a subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and X. All right. The other big story in town today. My throat's dry. Sorry. Other big story is this: the Eagles. I wasn't going to talk about the Eagles because I went off on them last night. I kind of set my piece on them last night. As far as the contract situations, we're going with some certain players, but today, Howie told me, "Hey, hold my beer because I'm going to one up you." Zach Bond, 3 years, $51 million. Another big contract given to another Eagle free agent. Yesterday was the Saquon Barkley, most money in the NFL for a running back, right? In the history of the league. And now you got the 3 year, $51 million. This is the most money for a linebacker currently in the NFL. And it's also incentive laden and escalators and all that. So again, Zach Bond getting rewarded for an amazing season of 2024. Now, is there a risk to this contract? I don't think so. I think it's a really good deal. It's a great length, 3 years I can live with. And the money, that's a little high, but I can live with it. Especially if Zach Bond can continue playing at that level. But that's, of course, going to be the big thing. Can he continue to play at that level? Is this just lightning in the bottle? And we're not going to know that until they get on the field next year. And is there a level of concern from Eagles fans that this might be lightning in the bottle from a player like Zach Bond? Is everybody out there 100% sure that Zach Bond, who apparently did not couldn't figure it out in New Orleans for 3 years or 4 years, whatever it was, comes here and becomes an All-Pro? Is there a level of concern that might have been what they call it, a fugazi, and that the real Zach Bond will stand up next year? Is there a level of concern there? I can see the deal with Saquon a little bit because Saquon's got a cash. He's got a pedigree. He's done this before. He's always been top 5. But I like the term. I like the length. I like the money. My throat is dry. Leave me alone. I like the terms. I like the money. But is anybody concerned, though, that this might be a little bit of a stretch? There's nothing to say that he's going to perform the way he did this year or next year. There's nothing to say that he won't. But there's a little bit of a concern there with that for me. So Zach Bond going to be is back. Now, the other part of this to me is, what does this do as far as the Eagles are concerned with the outside free agents? Winning a Super Bowl tells a lot about a team. Tells you that you got the right mix of players here. And how he went out and said, was it last week at the Combine, that this might be one of those unconventional type seasons of free agency? So was he trying to prepare the Eagle faithful for not much external free agents, but more internal? I mean, is this what we're going to be dealing with? Again, I understand. You already have the right recipe here. You already have the right players here already. But is that how we meant? That this is going to be an unconventional free agency type period, that we're probably going to end up signing a lot of our internal pieces and not necessarily going outside? Saquon Barkley, the big contract extension yesterday, and now Zach Bond, 3 years, $51 million. I would like to see Dejon play more on the base defense. OCs will start catching on to that soon. Be interesting to see how Dejon evolves. Now, as far as on the base defenses, so obviously you want him to play outside. Is that what you mean? That's another interesting situation with the secondary, and whether or not you're talking about moving Dejon to the outside or keeping him in the slot, whatever. But now we're down an outside corner. What do the Eagles do with that? How do they respond to that? But that's a good point. Again, there's a lot of emotion right now with this football team. They won the Super Bowl. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's not warranted. But because they won in 24, it's not necessarily going to mean they're going to win in 25. And making these moves, the big-time contract to Saquon Barkley, I honestly think they should have traded him. I honestly thought they should have taken what he did last season, which was a different level than any running back had done since Eric Dickerson in 1983, whatever that year was, 84. And I think they should have packaged him in a Herschel Walker-like trade. Strike while the iron is hot. Get them set up for the next 10 years. Because relying on Saquon Barkley to rush for 2,500 yards a season and not get hurt is fool's gold, right? I mean, does anybody out there really think he's going to do the same thing next year? And if he's just barely under what he was last season, how many wins does that cost the Eagles? And does that cost the Eagles a Super Bowl? It's a good question. Zach Bond, All-Pro, out of nowhere. But that concerns me, because where was he this whole time? And don't give me Vic Fangio, tapped into his vein. I'm not buying that. Even Brian Dawkins, it took him a few years under Jim Johnson to kind of really settle into himself. Right? I'm not buying that instant gratification that, it was Vic Fangio's system that unleashed Zach Bond. No, something happened. It was a good thing, but is it substantial? Is it sustainable? Can it continue on in 2025? When offenses are starting to make the corrections, the necessary adjustments, is Zach Bond still going to be that type of player? Is Saquon Barkley going to still be that type of player? Is Quinyon Mitchell minus Darius Slay going to be the same type of player? Does Cooper DeJean get moved from the slot to the outside because they don't want to go out and replace Darius Slay? And does that make Cooper DeJean the same type of player? These are all interesting questions. It's an interesting way, and how he's got to go with direction. He's got to go route through free agency, and obviously this is the route. And you can't fault him, but it's interesting. Running backs and linebackers, he was prepping us for that. Yeah, he was. He absolutely was. He was. The Eagles should be thinking about trading A.J. Brown to the Patriots and take what they can get for Brown and use it to trade for. Okay, Wow. Yeah, I heard that today. I saw that. And it was that Jalen Carter was also rumored. The Patriots were targeting both of them. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if AJ got moved. Yeah, as I think he's more of a problem in that locker room than people are talking about. I would not be surprised at all. We don't have another wide receiver to take his place right now, but I would not be surprised if they moved him. Especially if the Myles Garrett thing is still in play. And by all accounts, I hear that it is. The Eagles are still players in the Myles Garrett sweepstakes. But they're not going to be able to get him unless they get some more assets. And does A.J. Brown to the Patriots, does that get them the assets they need? That's an interesting point, Michael. Very interesting point. And I did see that today, that A.J. Brown was rumored, or not rumored, that the Patriots were targeting A.J. Brown, and I think it was Jalen Carter, trying to get them to play in New England. And again, if you've ever been up to Foxborough, go to that village. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it'd be interesting. But Howie set us up last week by saying it was going to be an unconventional offseason. Nobody really knew what he meant. But now we see two big contracts internally. Does that mean he's going to center all his attention on the internal Eagles? And when you're a Super Bowl champion, you already obviously have the pieces here. But are those pieces going to work in 2025? So Howie's obviously made a decision on what his direction for free agency will be this year. Whether or not it's the right one, we'll definitely have to find out. Most of Braun's career at Wisconsin was playing with stud linebackers, so his responsibilities were not a ton. I just think he was a late bloomer. Now, how much did Nakobe Dean account for this too? Before he got hurt. Because, and I'm not saying his play dipped when Nakobe left. I'm not saying that at all. His play actually probably might have even elevated a little bit. But I get you, Steve. And I'm not saying that this is the wrong decision. I love the term and I like the money. You're not married to him long term. You're married to him for 3 years. Right? It's something I can live with. And I'm not saying it's the wrong move. I'm just saying, is it the right move? And time will tell. But offenses are going to make adjustments. They're going to sit down and study Eagles film because they're the Super Bowl champs. They want to beat them more than anybody else. You all know that as the truth as much as I do. When you play the Super Bowl champs, you get up a little bit higher, you prepare a little bit deeper, and you fight a little harder to beat them because they're the best, and you want to knock off the best. So as teams begin to adjust to the Eagles players, is the counterpunch there? Or the counterpunch? We'll see. Rex Ryan, Mike. The Eagles better trade Brown fast, as DK Metcalf has asked for a trade. Yeah. And I saw also where the Seahawks have, they moved off of Lockett? End of an era out there in Seattle. 10 years for that guy? Now, is he somebody the Eagles pursue as a WR3? Is he an upgrade from Dotson? I'd go for him. I'd bring him in. I'd work him out. I'd try to have him earn a spot in camp. Or does a 10-year vet get insulted when you ask him to do that? But Lockett's a free agent that I bring here. We need wide receivers. Even with our team right now, before trading A.J. Brown. So, but you're right. DK Metcalf has asked for a trade as well. So, do the Eagles move off of A.J. Brown? Woo, that'd be great. That would be great. We'll have to wait and see that, but interesting. I like the Eagles to Metcalf. Wasn't Metcalf one of the wasn't he the JJ? Wasn't he the Arcega-Whiteside pick? Wasn't it supposed to be Metcalf? And then Reagor was supposed to be Justin Jefferson. Isn't that how that worked? Weren't we supposed to get DK Metcalf? And then instead we drafted JJ Arcega-Whiteside. So that would be kind of fixing a problem, right? Does Howie do that to wipe the slate clean with that move on draft day? I think Vaughn is on the team with a good number of field player communicators, especially DeJean. That helps a lot of players. Yeah, I mean, as I said, whatever they did last year, whatever secret sauce that was, and whatever they concocted, don't forget, this defense didn't come out of the B8s hot at all. They were one of the worst defenses in the league through 4 weeks. I think 28th as they went into the bye week in week 4 or 5. They were 28th overall. And something happened. I know Cooper DeJean came in and became a full-time starter. And that, I guess, unlocked some stuff. But something did happen, and it was the right thing. And they got better and better and stronger as the season went on, and they hit their stride when they needed to. And I can't stress enough how important it was for me in that turnover thing. 7 turnovers heading into week 9. And then from week 10 through the end of the season to include the Super Bowl, 23 forced turnovers. Absolutely epically amazing stuff. That doesn't get talked about enough. It's not been given its due enough. And I think that they got to continue that in 2025. But bringing Zach Bond back makes sense. It does. But does it also tip the hand of Howie Roseman that this is going to be a strictly internal free agent market for the Eagles? Are they going to is it all about signing their own players? And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, is this tipping a hand of what Howie's going to do this offseason? I'd be very interested to see how well we do against Tampa now. Bowles had his team's number. Yes, and that's a good point too. We will see them next year at some point. I don't know where. I do know where. It's there. I don't know when. Could that? No, that can't be a week 1 game. It's got to be a home game. Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting because that's definitely the anchor around the Eagles' neck right now. If there's a team out there that Sirianni probably hates, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they've had his number since he's been here. So yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be very interesting. But yeah. All right. Steve brought it up earlier, and I'm going to circle back to it. The Flyers. We are 2 days away? March 7th, 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. We are going to be at the NHL trade deadline. That means all non-waiver claims need to be done by 5 p.m. Essentially, all players after 5 p.m. on Friday, in order to be moved, have to clear waivers because they can't be traded. They have to go through waivers. If of course, that's the option they have. So Thursday or Friday at 5, the Flyers are going. The big mystery will be revealed whether or not the Flyers are going to be buyers or sellers in 24 and 25. And judging on the effort last night against Calgary in a game where if you like goal scoring and you don't like goaltending, then that was the game for you because we had 6 first period goals. Sam Ersson looked extremely confused. He looked uninterested and he looked scared. All attributes you don't ever want to see from an NHL goaltender. And he had those things going on last night in South Philadelphia. Tortorella made the move early in the first period, was it midway through, to go with Fedotov, the 6'9" Jolly Green Giant there. Did okay, I don't. He's the wrong option up here. Fedotov needs to go, right? Just bring up Kovalov, make him the backup to Ersson, reevaluate at the end of the year. But the question now always centers around, obviously it's not a matter of whether or not the Flyers are a Stanley Cup contender in the season. They're not. But there's a fringe section of the Flyer fan base that wants to say, I want to see them get to the playoffs to give these players experience. Experience at what? Losing? Experience of what? Getting swept? Experience of what? Seeing how higher the level of competition and how faster the game is in the playoffs than it is during the regular season. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know, but why would you want to go into a situation to get experience? That's not what professional athletes go into situations for. They go into situations to win. And you're not providing the Flyers enough bullets in the gun to win in the playoffs. Even if they find their way miraculously into the playoffs this season, they're not winning a cup and they're not getting past the first round. So why continue or why deviate from what you've started here over the last 2 seasons? There's some players that are hovering around the Flyers. Ristolainen's one of them. Scott Laughton's one of them. What's the other one? Sean Couturier's name is being floated around, but no one's taking that contract. So I heavily. Oh yeah, what's his face? The Calgary kid, Kuzmenko, right? I heavily believe the Flyers will be an active seller on Friday. I believe all 3 of those players will get moved. Maybe Risto doesn't. I don't know. It's going to be hard to get someone to get that money off the Flyers' hands for Ristolainen's contract. It's going to be hard. But I think that the Flyers will be actively selling at the trade deadline. They'll come out of the trade deadline worse than they were when they went into it for this season. And that's okay with me because I'm looking at big picture too. Now, the question gravitates after watching a performance from Sam Ersson last night, and Steve brought it up earlier in the show. Like, what the hell, man? I mean, where are we in the goaltending thing? And this question for the Flyers is as old as time, and it's as tiring as time, and it's as sad to talk about as time. Why can we not figure out the goaltending problem here in this town? Do we? And I think we know the answer to that. And I've asked this question of guests I've had on the show. I've asked this question of the Clear the Ice crew. I keep asking the question, and I keep getting varied answers. Is Sam Ersson a starting goalie in the National Hockey League? And I think the answer to that question is no. And it's not okay, or it's not bad to say that. Does he have a place in the National Hockey League? Yes. But it's not holding up the Stanley Cup. And it's not taking your team to the Stanley Cup. It's a backup. And it's okay to have a backup. We need one of them too. But the problem is we need a starter. And that's another item to put on Keith Jones' grocery list, is to find a starting goalie. Now, there are some options in the system, but if you're building a team actively right now, and hear me out, because I think this is also what's spearheading the Flyers' selling attitude come Friday. You're building a team. You don't want this team to necessarily get too far out in front of you to where you have to put a new goalie in order to kind of slow the team down to get the goalie up to speed. You want to have it almost grow at the same pace. So until the Flyers decide who the hell their starting goalie is, and I don't know who that is, or I don't know what that conversation is like. I don't know what they talked about in terms of what they're doing in between the net or in between the pipe. But I think that has a lot to do with how fast and how deep and how hard they go into this rebuild of building forwards and defensemen if you don't have a goalie. Because it's a lot easier to incorporate a goalie at the beginning of all this than it is to put a goalie in front of a team that's already starting to grow together. So having the answer of who your starter is, until they do have that, it's going to stop this rebuild. This rebuild will never fully get off the ground. And if they get too far out in front of it and then incorporate the goalie, it's going to slow the team down too. So it's a very tricky spot the Flyers are in right now when it comes to this team. You know, we go back and forth all season long. Is Ersson the starter? Is he a starter? The answer is no, he's not. He's got a place, but it's not as a starter. They got to find a starter. Now, do they already have one in the system? Maybe. But are those guys ready for their mantle right now? Maybe not. There is options heading into the summer. They could find a veteran stopgap guy to come in for a season or two before Bjornsson and Zrajan are ready. You could find somebody like that. And you could still rebuild around a guy like that and maybe get fans excited about a guy like that. But the Flyers are going to have to put goaltender back on their Christmas list as part of this rebuild because we don't have them yet. We got a bunch of backups. We don't have a starter. Until we have that starter, we're not going anywhere. So I think that also lends into why I believe the Flyers will be sellers on Friday, because they're not ready yet because of the goaltending situation. So I think the Flyers are selling. Last night's 6-3 loss against the Calgary Flames was not inspirational at all. inspirational. We must get serious value for Lawson Risto. Has to happen as much as that Frost Farabee trade. Yeah. Problem's going to be with Risto. He's a defenseman, and he's got a big contract. I don't know how much value you're going to get. A team taking most of that money off your hands is going to be counting towards value, Steve. That's my concern. And I don't know if anyone's biting for Risto. I really don't. I think they'll be able to move lots. But as far as Risto goes, I don't know, man. But I agree with what you're saying. But I think in Risto's case, somebody taking that money off the Flyers' hands is going to count towards a return in the trade. So, which I'm okay with. The Flyers' salary cap situation is improving on the daily. Started the season with the 22nd most cap room for next summer in the league. They're up to 14. They unload one of these two contracts, and then they unload Cal Peterson's $5 million AAV that he gets every year to play in the AHL. I mean, you're looking at potentially top 10, top 8, most cap room in the NHL heading into next summer. Now, the free agent list is not necessarily all that hopeful. There's a lot of older guys. It's not necessarily what you're looking for. Maybe in the free agent class of 2025, there's a lot of older players. I know Keith Jones kind of intimated towards it a couple of days ago that yes, the salary cap situation is getting better, and it will be better for the summer of 25. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go out there and just spend it frivolously. They may hold on to some money for next season in 26 when the class of free agents is a little younger. I mean, take a look at it. There's some old players. There's some good players, but they're old. They're old. They're formerly good players, and they're getting old. So I don't know how much of a players the Flyers are going to be in free agency this summer, because it doesn't seem that very attractive. But it's good. They're getting better with that, and they're getting the cap situation is improving. So that's always a good thing. Wonder if Mark Andre Fleury can bridge the gap for a year. He's retiring, man. I think he's going to come back and play for the Flyers. How do we get stuck with Cal Peterson? Don't you remember? It was part of the Provorov thing a couple of years ago, right? A couple of summers ago. In order to get that third team, which was the Kings, involved and taken. In order for the Flyers to move Provorov to the Blue Jackets, they needed the Kings to send some money over to eat up Provorov's contract. But in return, we had to eat friggin' 2 years of Cal Peterson's contract. Don't you remember that, Steve? It flies under the radar because I think when it initially happened, no one was tracking $5 million AAV for Cal Peterson, but that's what he was. And I think the Flyers were actually thinking he was going to be at least a backup at the NHL level, and they didn't consider him to be this. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that's Cal Peterson came over as part of the third team in the Provorov deal, if you recall, a couple summers ago. Yeah. It was part of it was Danny B's trying to get rid of Ivan Provorov. It was part of that. They needed a third team, and they needed Cal Peterson's money. I don't know how that all worked out, but I think the Kings ate some of Provorov's money in order for the Flyers to move Provorov to the Blue Jackets, but in return, the Flyers had to take Peterson. I think that's how it worked. But that's how they got stuck with him, as far as I'm concerned. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. All right, let's. We're way off here. We got to get back on topic. Let's get on to our of the night segment. We got a big one here tonight, and then I got to talk about the Flyers again. All right, yeah, this is the other night segment. This is a part of the show where we talk about a Flyers prospect, a Phillies prospect, the Flyers NHL draft target, a Phillies and MLB draft target, prospects. We talk about them, spotlight players. We talk about them. We get you ready. We introduce you to them, or we reintroduce you to them, in case you didn't know we had them. and we have fun. We're doing a trifecta tonight, folks. We're going Flyer prospect, Philly spotlight player, and MLB draft target. So strap it on. Let's go. Let's start out with the Flyers prospect. We only got like 2 of these left to do. We've gone through all of them this year with the exception of 2 after this guy. We have 2 more after him. So let's go. Your Flyer prospect of the night is John Randall Avon, the center left wing for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Is a 6 foot, 174 left winger. Was a UDFA, undrafted free agent. He needs to work on his all-around game and add some strength. He has 2 potential to turn a quality bottom 6 forward with some power play usage, although he still needs to work on some aspects of his game. In long and short, in layman's terms, he is a camp guy. He's a career AHLer, and he's a camp guy every summer. It's okay, but we need them too. And I would personally, if I was John Randall Avon, I would love that. I know a couple of these guys that are never really going to stick in the NHL, but they're going to play, and they're going to have a career as a professional hockey player in the AHL, just right below the surface, and they might find their way for a call-up or 2 along the way. It's not a bad way to live, honestly. So I'm not knocking him, but by no means is he part of the Flyer future. He is going to be, if the Flyers move on from him, he'll go to some other AHL team. He'll be part of the trade, a player to name later, that kind of thing. So nothing really on the up. I know what the profile said about him, but he's a camp guy. He is a career AHLer, and it's okay. It is, but he is definitely not part of the future, but he's still considered a prospect because he plays in our minor league system. So there you have it. There was your Flyer prospect of the night. Now let's go to your Philly spotlight player for the night. And we talked about this all night. That's right, Garrett Stubbs. De facto backup catcher for your Philadelphia Phillies. 52 games played in 2024, a 207 batting average, 1 home run, 11 RBIs, and a whopping 5.58 OPS. He did also make 4 pitching appearances in blowouts, if you guys recall. He is the Phillies' go-to pitcher when they blow through the bullpen and they're down by 20 runs. He typically gets out there and eats up an inning or 2. And he will be if Rafael Marchand cannot make a good enough play. He's going to be your backup again. And I don't know what that means. Is that enough? Is he enough as your backup catcher? In 52 games, a 207 batting average with 1 homer, 11 RBIs, and a measly 5.58 OPS tells me it's not. So is this the best option the Phillies have at backup catcher? Now, they brought him back. They do have some battling going on inside Clearwater right now for that final positioning. It's between him and Rafael Marchand. Who has the upper hand? Probably Garrett Stubbs, due to his experience with the Phillies and his durability. Stubbs doesn't get hurt. It's because Stubbs doesn't play. And, of course, he's the DJ and all that. So is Garrett Stubbs enough? And with JT getting another year older and those knees getting another year older, is Garrett Stubbs, could he potentially have to come on and play in, say, 82 games or 92 games? Is that enough for the Phillies? Is that enough? And I don't think it is. But right now, he is the backup catcher. So there you go. Garrett Stubbs, your Philly spotlight player. And let's end it with the trifecta with the MLB draft. And we're going to go to Santa Barbara for right-hand pitcher Tyler Bremner. That's right, Tyler Bremner, right-hand pitcher for Santa Barbara. For the second time in a decade, the Gauchos could produce the first college pitcher drafted with Bremer following Dylan Tate. He might have the best changeup in the draft, a well above average, low 80s weapon with fade and sink that works against both lefties and righties, and both his mid-90 fastball and mid-60 slider, or at least solid offerings. He ranked 5th in D1 with an 0.88 ERA last year while posting 0.88 last year while posting a 2.54 ERA with a slash line of 104, 21 strikeouts, 21 strikeout walk ratio in 88 2/3 innings. So Tyler Bremner, and as far as we are sitting here in early March, is your consensus number 1 pitcher taken in the draft, not number 1 overall, but good looking pitching profile, does have the velocity, has the mechanic. Is he potentially the first pitcher off the board in July in where's the All-Star game this year? Wherever the All-Star game is, where the draft will be. So is he your first pitcher taken off the board? So there you go. Tyler Bremner, the right-hand pitcher from the Santa Barbara Gauchos. Jeez. Sorry, Santa Barbara. I don't know how to say that. And another baseball point, or a couple more baseball points. Phillies today lost 17-7. Steve brought it up way back when in the show. And you guys are also aware that we're only about 10 days away from the start of the baseball season. You guys know this, right? March 18th in Tokyo, the Cubs and Dodgers will play in a 2-game set against each other on the 18th and the 19th, kicking off the season for both those teams. Regular season play. But then they'll return to spring training with the rest of with everybody else, finish out spring training, and we'll all start at the end of the month. So just like they did last year in Korea, they're doing the same thing this year in Tokyo. So just kind of keep you abreast of that, because I had forgotten about it today actually too. All right, let's do our MattyB's all-time Flyer roster. I have to reveal my final defensive pairing, and then tomorrow will be the goalies, and next week we'll do the coaches. But to remind everybody who's been playing along at home, over the last few weeks or about a month ago, I started this with the Phillies all-time, MattyB's all-time Phillies roster, and I just bled into the Flyers right after that. And we've been doing is I've been assembling my all-time Flyer roster and putting them on their appropriate lines as well. We've done 4 lines and now 3 defensive pairings, with the third one coming out tonight. Let's remind everybody of my lines. Here's my all-time number 1 Flyer line. It's the LCB line. Barber, Clark, and Leach. Now, it just happened that this line played together. This is not this was not a criteria of this. I put Flyer players from all over the history of the team on lines together. This just happens to be, in my opinion, the best line that's ever played for this team. And they just so happen to have played together in real life. And I'm not going to break that up. Why break it if it ain't? Why fix it if it ain't broken? So the LCB line is my number 1 overall Flyers line. Just so happens to be that they actually played together in real life. My number 2 line is a line that consists of John LeClair on the left, Eric Lindros in the middle, and Claude Giroux on the right. That would be my number 2 all-time Flyer line. You got some of the sniping fast hands speed of the LCB line, followed up by 2 players that live down low in Lindros and LeClair, and then the fast, quick hands of Claude Giroux. So it's a little bit of a change of pace from line 1 to line 2. You got goal scoring ability, but you got more of a bruising mentality with line 2. Line 3, I got Brian Propp, McLeish, and Mark Recchi. So I'm taking line 3 from the Bruisers. I'm going to line 3, which is going to be pure speed and shooting and finesse. This is going to be the line that I would, this is nothing. This line is asked to do one thing and one thing only, and that's score goals. And these are the 3 individuals that will probably be able to do it very adequately for the Flyers. So there's my number 3 overall line. Wrap up with my 4th overall line. We're going back to more power underneath with Tocchet, Brindamore, and Kerr. Talk about 3 individuals that can live in front of the net, but also score 50 goals a year. It just we keep coming at you wave after wave after wave of scores, finesse players, speed, and bruisers. So there's my 4 lines. My number 1 D pairing, Pronger and Desjardins. My number 2 D pairing, Howell and Timonen. And tonight, for the first time ever, my D3 pairing just happens to also be a pairing of players that actually play together and actually won 2 Stanley Cups while playing together, and also happen to be related. And that would be the Watson brothers. Jimmy and Joe Watson would be my number 3 D pairing overall, all time for the Philadelphia Flyers. How could I not? There's no wonder why that team, the 73, 74, 75 Flyers won back-to-back cups with the LCB line and these 2 individuals playing for them. How could you not have asked for anything? Jim Watson, in his 10 years with the Flyers, 38 goals, 148 assists, 186 points, and a gaudy plus 295 in 613 games. Are you kidding me? His plus minus with the Flyers was plus 295, and over through 10 seasons. I mean, come on, man. Joe Watson, 14 seasons with the Flyers, 38 goals, 178 assists, 216 points for a gaudy plus 169. Come on. And a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion. So there you have it. The Watson brothers. And that rounds out my Flyers defensive core. Tomorrow we'll go goalies, and then we'll wrap it up next week with the coach. I think I'm putting together a goddamn good lineup here. Steve says McCrimmon and Marsh. Yeah, come on, Brad McCrimmon. And what, Brad McCrimmon and Brad Marsh? What, the Brad line or number 10 and number 8? Come on, Steve, man. Listen, I actually was thinking about this today because on my Flyers roster, I want to carry 7 defenders. So I would need another one, and I would probably take Brad Marsh as my 7th defender. Brad McCrimmon, now, man, he was too much of a pussy. Come on. I didn't like Brad McCrimmon. But yeah, I take Brad Marsh. Yeah. As my 7th defender. I was actually thinking about that today. I was gonna throw him in there, but I'm like, nah, it's overkill. Just go with what I know. So yeah. All right, let's we're getting right to the end here. We got one more segment, and then we can wrap this bad boy up. We got the best segment of the night waiting for us. Let me do one thing. One thing first. All right, here we go. Let's bring it up. Okay. So that's right. One more segment left, and it's my favorite segment of all time. Here we go. You ready? You ready for the cool music? Let's key it up, the graphic, all that great stuff. Boom.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, yeah, this is our card review segment. It's part of the show where I take one of my very many sports cards, and we just spend a few minutes talking about it. We talk about maybe when I found it, when I got it, how I got it, what year it was when I ripped it open out of the pack, all those great things back in the day when I was a young man and also an older man because I still collect cards to this day. So we've been doing this, and we're going to continue to do it. As I said, it puts a smile on my face. It's our final segment, and it's my most fun segment of the night. And we're staying in baseball, and we're staying in the 2024 Topps holiday set. Like last night we did Masson Wynn from the Cardinals, his holiday card from last year. We're staying in the same set, and we're going pitching tonight. We're going with Yamamoto, Yoshimoto Yamamoto from the Dodgers, the phenom who came over last year to join Ohtani with the Dodgers. This is his 2024 Topps holiday card. Last season, making his MLB debut. Definitely struggled a little bit, right? Wasn't he hurt kind of start of the season? His MLB, his numbers last year, 7-2 with a 3.00 ERA in 105 strikeouts. But he did struggle a little bit with injury in and out, but it might have something to do with the fact that it is the MLB. But you know what? There were some rumors that he was coming to Philadelphia at one point. Everybody got butthurt when he didn't. He ended up in LA. I think he's definitely the real deal. I think you might see a kind of a breakout season from him this year, especially now with Ohtani going back in that rotation. It might give him a little bit of a shield, a little bit of a buffer. But Yamamoto is definitely one of those up-and-coming rising stars in MLB, and this is his 2024 Topps holiday rookie card. As you can see, the pretty little Christmas stuff behind him, and then the RC or the rookie card logo that Topps has made famous over the years. Next to him, this card retails right now in most databases at about $6. But again, this is one of those cards that you might want to sit on for a while and see where it takes you. I think he's got the stuff to be a very good pitcher on a very good staff, on a very good team, and kind of ride that as far as he can take it. And I think he's the real deal. Had some injury problems heading into last season. Dealt with some injuries during the season, but he rebounded nicely. And what a way to wrap up his first season with the World Series championship. So there you have it. Mr. Yamamoto, the Dodgers phenom pitcher, is tonight's card review. His 2024 Topps holiday card. And here it is in its physical form, as I have it right here. Again, all my cards are raw, meaning they're not graded. But this is a pretty good card. I think this is like a 9.95. And I like the design of these holiday cards. Topps comes out with a unique design every year. And last year's was pretty cool. We'll see what they got for this year. So there you go. There's our card review segment. That's going to probably take me to the end. But remind everybody out there that tomorrow, the Flyers are back at it, and we're back at it here on the network as Sal will take you on Clear the Ice following the Flyer Jets game. And also be on the lookout for the Fighting's final Philadelphia Phillies 2025 season preview show coming soon. I'm not going to give away the date and time yet because we're still talking about that, but we do have a date and a time thrown up against the wall, and we're running it down. But it's that time of the year, man. There's no stopping it. The 2025 baseball season is here, and we will have you, we'll get you fired up for the Fighting's final here very soon. So big night of the show. I want to thank everybody for their contributions. Thank you for being part of what we did tonight. I enjoyed it. We went over an hour. So great show, a lot of content, a lot of talking. And that's going to wrap me up. But I'll be back tomorrow night, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about. And in between that time, you guys have a great rest of your night and even better tomorrow. We'll see you.